listening to the How to Health podcast. Turn up that stereo, plug in those earbuds, or pull up a chair. It's time to master your health journey. Here are your hosts, Dr. Heidi Cook and athletic trainer Tyler Smith. Let's ride.
Howdy ho.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. How are we doing this week?
It has been what's the word we like to use when things happen and it's a challenge, a chance to flex our whatever muscles, our
neutral thinking muscles.
Our neutral thinking muscles. There's been a lot of opportunities this week to flex my neutral thinking muscles.
Love that.
Yes.
It's been a bit of a snafu, huh?
It's been a bit of one of those just, opportunities to grow and learn and get put in awkward situations that you just kind of, on one hand, when things like this come up, like those awkward opportunities or moments in life where it's just uncomfortable, it's not ever good to be in there, but at least it gives you that learned opportunity. So if you ever have to go through it again, you can navigate it a little bit better and understand the situation a little bit better.
Yeah. I like that perspective.
That's what I'm going to go with right now.
I like that. That's great. Did you know that snafu is actually an acronym? I did not know that.
No, I didn't.
I always just thought a snafu was a snafu.
Yeah. What does it stand for?
It stands for situation normal, all effed up.
Oh, there you go. I did not know that. It's like the term news actually is an acronym, and I didn't know that for the longest time. Yeah, if you're watching the news, that the news stands for something. Each letter stands for something.
What does it stand for?
Notable events, weather, and sports.
No shit.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Until
I was today years old. I feel like I could be wrong. I could be just really dumb. I do not feel like that is normal. Or not normal. What's what I'm looking for? That's not knowledge that everybody knows.
No, it isn't. That's why when I heard it, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, are you serious right now? I just thought it was the news. And they're like, no, that's where it came from.
I'm taking a poll on Instagram today. I have to know. I have to know if I've been the dummy or if nobody else knows this, because I feel like nobody else knows this.
I don't know why. It was this random facts that came flying through the training room. Do you know where the term Americano came from?
The term Americana?
No, Americano. If you're going to an espresso bar and that you order do you know where that came from?
No.
So, I believe it was World War II. Our soldiers were over in Europe and all they had was espresso. And all our soldiers wanted was a cup of coffee. That is it. I just want a cup of coffee. So they started calling it Americano because they would water it down because that's all we wanted was coffee.
Huh.
Fact number 2, just blowing up today.
I didn't know that we were doing our trivia segment first.
No, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Just going through it. So how was your week? We'll transition from fun news to how was your week? How's the baby doing?
Week was good. Baby's doing good. We are getting more and more uncomfortable. Sam and I, so we did a maternity photo shoot when we were in Hawaii, and we got the pictures back. And even looking at those pictures, which were let's see, how long ago did we take those?
I was going to say 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. 2.5 weeks since we took those pictures. I feel like I have doubled in size since those photos were taken. It is wild. So yes, we are doing good, growing good. still feeling pretty good. I think I finally had my last cycle ride though.
Did you? Oh no.
I know. We made it almost 32 weeks. Last week, I think, was the final ride. I'm starting to get like some pretty irritated, like round ligament pain.
Sure.
And the cycling just does not help that at all. And now that, again, my belly has gotten even bigger, it's gotten more cumbersome. And I was like, you know what? I'm at a point where most things are uncomfortable. I don't need to force myself to do movement that is also wildly uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say there's probably an alternative in there somewhere that was less cumbersome, and or like that position itself is going to put you like where your pelvis is going to shift forward and all that.
Yeah. So anyways, we made some shifts this week, but I am sad to see it go. And I know that it's going to be a while till it comes back too, because let's be honest, it's going to be a while before I have the desire to sit on a bike seat.
Why? I don't understand that. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I draw you a diagram. So anyways, that's been the biggest shift this week. But baby, so these are fun. Probably the most fun nostalgic size reference.
That's a tall order right there.
So this week, I'm going to pull up the standard one first. If it will go. All right. Baby is the size of a large zucchini.
Large zucchini. All right.
16 and a half inches. But again, we know that that's likely not the case for our child.
Yeah. In case people don't wonder, the cooks are not height stature people.
No. About 4 pounds.
Nice.
And yes, equivalent to a large zucchini, but this is the best one. Dun, 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 dun. Baby is the size of a half gallon of Sunny D.
Sunny D. Not real orange juice, but don't worry, it still tastes like orange juice.
No, it does not taste like orange juice. Sunny D is in a league all its own.
What is
like nothing I've ever tasted other than Sunny D.
What is full term in a pregnancy? Is it like how many weeks?
Well, so not that I want to say that it depends. I think I just don't know. I always thought that it's like once you get through 36 weeks and into 37, the lungs are developed, which is like the thing you're typically like the last thing that we're waiting for is like final brain development and lung development. And those are like the biggest things that we wait for in these final stages. But then I was reading, and so I always thought like, oh, you consider it full term at 36 weeks. That's technically 9 months.
Yep.
And then, you usually go 40, which is really
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But I was reading somewhere else that it's not considered full term until 39 weeks. And so I'm not sure if they consider 36 weeks full term or not.
Oh.
I don't. It's like that's like a big marker for getting through 36 weeks so that the lungs are fully developed.
I don't want to scare you, but what you just, it's either 34 or 36 and around 4 pounds is when Mr. Clinton was born. So he was a preemie, but he came early and he spent like 4 weeks in the NICU.
Yeah.
And then his journey, with us began. But like, so, any day now.
This is, don't do that. This is from
MPS. So everyone knows my son is also bigger than me now. He's standing eye to eye with me at 5'10" at 12 years old. So he turned out just fine, but also not my genetics. So there's that.
Okay, so this is where I was getting confused. So they consider early term 37 weeks.
Okay.
That's early term.
Because he was before that for sure.
Any time before 37 weeks is considered preterm. Early term is 37 weeks until the end of 38 weeks. And then full term is 39 and then beyond. And then once you get past 41, they start calling that late term and post term.
Yeah. So I remember I could just hold him like this because he was a preemie and he was really like the preemie clothes didn't even fit him when we adopted him. So
tiny little guy.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Yes. Okay. So that's where I was getting confused. This early term at 37 weeks.
Got it.
I know. I think they will. Do they call it completed gestation?
That sounds right to me, but I'm not 100. Yeah, I'm not 100%.
But I know there's still increased risk of complication delivering before 39 weeks. So, anyways, and everybody's different, and those like beginning scans and stuff are estimates, and
sure.
So, anyways. Yes, we are knocking on the door of 32 weeks. So we are in the final stretch, for sure.
Once again, we will do a DM call to subsequent co-hosts when Heidi's gone. So I have people to
talk to.
I don't know. Like, I remember listening to you when you first started. And like, I was laughing. I was like, I don't know if I could talk for that long just to myself. Like, I really don't know if that could happen. I would be like asking myself questions and like,
That's so funny.
I just don't know if I could do that.
Sam, so Marco Polo?
Yeah.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Sam thinks it's so funny that like I can get on there and I can probably talk for 30 minutes straight. Like, yes, I'm talking to people. But like nobody's talking back to me. It's not like a conversation, And Sam was just like, it blows my mind how you can talk for 30 minutes straight without like anything else. Just telling them about my day, what I'm doing, stories here and there. So it is not hard for me to talk for 30 minutes plus by myself.
Speaking of which, I might have to call Sam in for some co-hosts.
You go. There you go.
He's a busy man, though. He's got a lot on his plate.
That man is a busy man. Yes, he is. And it is, I think he's feeling just how busy life is right now because he knows he's going to be taking some time off here soon. And he's got a lot on his plate, but he's a
trooper.
He's a trooper. He's managing it all well as he does. Good. Yeah. So good week. Baby's doing good. Oh, the joys of my new little aches and pains. I will say my back hurts pretty much every day now.
That's fun. Well, and I had a coworker who she was pregnant and had the same thing. And then her husband, who also works with us, was like, well, Tyler does some dry needling. But I was like, they explicitly say I can't do that on pregnant people. So yeah, sorry, I can't help you. She was not mad at me, but not happy with the lack of resolvement in her low back pain.
Yeah. Mine's not even low back. It's mid back pain.
Is it?
Yeah. I've had it it's the same spot. I've had it since pretty early on, but it would kind of come and go. And I would notice it if I was in one position for too long. And now it's just pretty constant.
Pretty all the time, Z's.
Yes. Anyways. Well, I don't have a clever way to transition us this week.
Yeah, I was trying to find one, but it did not present itself the way I wanted it to.
The opportunity did not present itself. But Today we are talking about hunger cues. This is coming off of the heels of a good group discussion in our MBA office hours this last week. And just working through hunger cues, differentiating between what is a craving, what is a hunger cue, how to tap into those hunger cues, how to appropriately respond to those hunger cues as well when they do present themselves, and kind of first steps that we can take to start discovering our own hunger cues and how to manage hunger and eating, because that seems to be not like a reoccurring, I don't want to say like a reoccurring problem, but like just a common struggle when it comes to reestablishing your relationship with food, right? Is re-tapping into these hunger cues that often, we just have suppressed for so long.
Yeah. And I think I really wanted to talk about this, and my perspective on this subject itself comes from kind of an interesting place where in both my work and what I do, and also like some of the podcasts I listen to, other health and fitness individuals, there's kind of like this dichotomy or these two ends of the spectrum that people talk about. And what I really wanted to do and what we want to try to do today is help you to kind of focus in the middle. And that is because I work with like a group of, for lack of a better term, elite distance runners, right? Mm-hmm. And what they will do a lot of times is just ignore their hunger cues because they're trying to maintain a specific physique, which is not uncommon for a lot of people to just ignore hunger cues and just pretend like they're not there.
Yeah.
In that facet, like that's not a positive thing, right? Because we're ignoring like the energy demands of our body, which we should like obviously pay attention to. On the other side, we've talked and had some people talk to us where hunger cues or cravings, and we'll try to help differentiate between both those, can work against them in their health and nutrition goals, or get them like, we've had people describe like, my hunger cues have a tendency to get me into trouble because it's more habit-based, or like after I do this activity, I always eat this, or like I always have a craving for this at night, and trying to get them to not ignore it, but honor their hunger cues, but make, I don't want to say better decisions, because every decision is going to be a little bit different depending on the circumstances of life and what's going on. But when they come to us and say, this is my goal, we want to try to help them honor those, but make decisions that help support their goals moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I often use the analogy of, people will come to me and say, like, I think my hunger cues are broken, or like, I don't have hunger cues, or because, when we're breaking away or stepping away from an arbitrary structure, calling the shots, and I ask individuals to tap into their hunger cues and allow those to call the shots, right? That can be a scary transition because that particular individual oftentimes has had something else, some other structure, program, meal plan, approved foods list, whatever, like calling the shots on what they can and can't eat, when they can and can't eat. And whenever they're off of said structure, they feel like they're in like that ultimate binge cycle, which also doesn't feel good, right? So like we're in this perpetual cycle of like just not feeling good. And so it's scary to transition and let go of all of this quote unquote structure, right? Especially when we don't feel particularly connected to the driver that I'm asking that individual to make their decisions based off of. And so I often use the analogy of, if you were told every single time that you opened your mouth to speak to shut up, be quiet, close your mouth, like what you have to say is unimportant, you would stop talking, right? Like eventually over time, you would learn that like what I have to say is not important. Nobody wants to hear from me. and
Right.
you'd become a mute, right?
Right.
And so for these individuals, right, like think about what we've done to our hunger cues and how like we've conditioned our hunger cues over time. And so if somebody's struggling to tap into that, if they're struggling to create that relationship, I want them to know that like that was learned and we can unlearn that as well. And so just because maybe you don't feel like you have a strong connection to your hunger cues, you don't know what they feel like, you don't know how to respond to them, doesn't mean that you can't reestablish that relationship. We just have to give them the opportunity to speak, for us to honor that, whatever that cue is, and listen. That goes for fullness as well. And once we can start to do that, we can start to also hone in on, what does it feel like when, sure, maybe I've eaten, but I'm not satisfied. Or sure, maybe I've eaten, but I still don't really feel like I have the energy that I need, or, so on and so forth. And we can start to kind of play with and learn more about like, okay, what do I need at this meal? Because I was feeling this way in,
Sure.
Throughout the morning. What shift can I make to lunch to help me to give my body what it feels like it needs? And so again, like dialing that all the way back, let's talk about what hunger cues can feel like in the body, because I think a lot of people just assume that hunger is just that physiological hunger of like stomach growling, and that's hunger, and like they wait and wait and wait for that feeling to happen, and it either doesn't happen or they don't experience it until they're like ravenous,
Right.
because it's been suppressed for so long. So what are some other cues or I guess signals that we can look out for when it comes to hunger?
Yeah, and I actually had a really good jump, piggybacking off what you said, like a real life example in my own life of kind of playing with this. There was a period of time where I did some like intermittent fasted or like time restricted eating. And the interesting transition was my learned behavior was to get up and eat food. That's like one of the like literally I brush my teeth and then I go eat food. And that was like my learned behavior. And my hunger cues or my triggers were I did like almost immediately after brushing teeth, I felt a hunger cue or the habit was associated with you need to go eat now. And then I pulled that away. And like some of those cues that I felt, obviously, I mean, you feel hungry. There were times throughout I don't know how, because I don't wear a continuous glucose monitor, but I almost felt like at times like a little weak or like dizzy, because I think my blood sugar dropped a little bit because it was used to having like a pickup or a spike in that. And then like I would feel personally like just a little bit of brain fog. I mean, we could offset that with caffeine, but that's not a healthy habit too. You know what I mean? But like it was interesting because, and I've learned to go back the other way. I didn't do it for a long period of time, but to speak to what you're talking to, like it was definitely a learned behavior for me. And I like when you flip flop them, it does take your body some time to adjust. And it kind of sounds bad because people like, it didn't feel good in the mornings for a long time, for like months. I didn't feel great in the morning, but I was like I wanted to commit to it, try it and sustain it, just because I've had a lot of clients that have done it before. And sometimes not with all, with some, I like to experience like what they're experiencing so I can kind of like have that firsthand related knowledge. But those were some of the things that I kind of felt, like just definite hunger cues, like, and none of this was like sustained the whole time. I would just almost have waves where I'd feel really good and then it would not feel as good. And like you get some of those symptoms back and forth.
Yeah. And so while I will say there is something to be said about like somewhat of routine, right? Like, I think that's another overwhelming piece of this for a lot of individuals who are coming off of a lot of structure is that now like the world is their oyster, and like almost like decision fatigue starts to set in. It's like, okay, well, I can eat anything at any time, or, and that can almost feel like overwhelming. But as like to Tyler's point, once we start to kind of get into a bit of a pattern with ourselves, right? Like a lot of these cues start to become cyclical as our body lands in a rhythm that fits within our life, because like we all have responsibilities and jobs and, different things that are requiring our energy and our attention that land at different parts of the day. And so as an individual, you start to develop patterns based on your exterior responsibilities, right? I have to eat breakfast before I get out the door at this time, or, I have time for lunch around this time each day. And so your body does start to get into a pattern. But while we're starting to learn about hunger cues, I think the biggest shift that we learn when maybe we do have predetermined eating times that are available to us, right? Like
Sure.
based on kids' sports in the evening, or, work start in the morning or whatever, we can still start to learn, what we're fueling our bodies as we tap into those cues more. Because a lot of times when we're just not connected to it, we don't have a connection to why we have brain fog in the morning, or why, I ate breakfast, but I'm starving at 10 a.m. Right. And I'm starting to like dig through my lunch pail, or, whatever it might be. So, let's first chat about, what hunger can look like, or, feel like in the body. So we know about the, stomach growling, right? That's probably the most widely known.
Sure.
Tyler was talking about like brain fog. That's a big one as well. Feeling fatigued or lethargic. I almost said fatigued.
Fatigued. That's our new word for it. We're going to combine
Yes.
them.
Fatigued and lethargic, low energy, and then headaches. And then another big one that I want people to tap into is irritability. Like that's a big one. And that's very closely tied in with like blood sugar levels.
Sure.
And I know everybody, talks about like that feeling of being hangry. But I like to think of it as like hangability. So like maybe I'm not raging, but my fuse is much shorter. Sometimes I just need a snack, and I'm like, oh, I do feel like I can cope with today. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Shakiness is another one. I feel like a lot of those come a bit later. Like if we've suppressed, things like headaches and shakiness can happen much later in the kind of hunger cue spectrum. But typically those like early signs are that physiological hunger through like stomach growling, rumbling, irritability, and low energy. And then we start to get into that like brain fog, fogginess, unfocused. That's another thing too, is we talk about an inability to focus being one, and I think that's a big one. And we'll also get into what that can look like in terms of what you might be missing at your mealtime as well, if you are noticing a common pattern of inability to focus during your day, or pockets during your day. But that inability to focus can just look like almost like squirrel brain, right? Like going from this thing to that thing to this thing, because like your body is giving you a signal that you can't quite interpret. And like, it's like an alarm is going, like try, doing a task while like a fire alarm is going off around you, right? Like it would be really
Sure.
hard to focus on the task. And something similar is happening within the body. And so you're kind of unable to focus on the task at hand. And sometimes just stepping away, feeding yourself, and coming back is what it takes to be able to refocus. So all of those things are ways that we can interpret hunger. But I think within that, everybody's different and their hunger is going to present differently. And kind of where you are in the spectrum of your hunger is going to present differently as well. You know, like right now I was running late this morning, and normally I would grab a protein bar, and I am starving right now. So I feel like, while yes, I have pregnancy brain, and that is a very real thing, and I have the mental capacity of a peanut these days, I feel like that has been reduced to even a poppy seed. And like, keeping my train of thought is even more challenging on this morning's podcast, because all I can think about is an egg on toast that I'm going to have for breakfast when we're done recording this.
And we gave them a lot of signs and symptoms of hunger cues. One question that we also get a lot is, how do I differentiate between a hunger cue and a craving, and what do those different things look like? One of the first things, and I'll pop it back over to you, that I personally try to help people with, if you're trying to differentiate between, am I just having a craving or do I have a hunger cue? A lot of times with a craving, I'll tell people it can look like manifesting in like a specific food. Like, you know what I mean? I really want this. And that might be more of a craving versus, it can be both. There's a lot of crossover.
There can be overlap, but I understand what you're saying as well.
Yeah, they'll be like, I really want this. Okay, well, if we don't, like, let's say I took that option off the table. Let's say, like, for you, an egg and toast is off the table. Like, that is not, you're not allowed to have that for breakfast.
Yeah.
Are you still hungry? Are you going to go get something else? And if that
100%.
And if they're like, yes,
8 other things that sound good right now.
Right. And if they're like, yes, then I'm like, yeah, then your body's telling you it needs some fuel. If you're like, if I can't have an egg and toast, I don't want anything. Then that's one way at times that we can differentiate between, like, am I just having a craving right now? Or am I like, is my body telling me I'm hungry, feed me some food?
Yeah. And I think often that happens at night, right? Like, that is probably the most common pattern, is that happens at night. Like, you know, wanting ice cream, like, you know, sweets seems to be a common pattern at night, or sometimes not. Sometimes it's like popcorn or chips or something, like, while we're sitting on the couch. And so there's this video, because there's a way that, like, these two things can be married, I think, where we're honoring our cravings, right? Because we don't want to restrict, suppress, or make the foods that we desire unavailable to us, right? We want to be able to have all the foods at our table, but there are ways that we can structure them so that we're giving our body and answering the needs of our body while also honoring, you know, what our brain wants as well. And I know I've used this example before, but like, a big one for me and a common kind of thread for me is mac and cheese, right? Like, love a boxed mac and cheese.
Me too.
Right? Like, but for me to sit down and expect for a bowl of Kraft mac and cheese to give my body what it needs to make me feel full and satisfied and, you know, feel clear and focused, like, give me what it needs so that I can operate through the rest of my day, is a pretty high ask of a boxed mac and cheese.
Not only that, but like, think about it. If that's all you ate, is that going to, like, is it going to, like, if all you ate was mac and cheese for 5 days, how are you going to feel? And be like, okay, so now that's a good decision, but long-term that pattern is probably not going to serve me the way I want it to.
Right. And so, okay, lunchtime comes around. I really want Kraft mac and cheese, let's say. I don't want to tell myself that I'm not allowed to have it, because it's not nutriently dense enough. I don't want to restrict that because, I've accepted all foods at my table. So how can I step into that boxed Kraft mac and cheese while also giving my body what it needs so that I can get through the rest of my day, stay focused, stay full. The biggest thing being staying satisfied, because I think that is often what prevents perpetuating food thoughts for individuals who feel like they're constantly thinking about food.
Sure.
A lot of times we're not fully satisfying our body and our brain, and it's not being fully satiated, so that like an hour after we eat, 30 minutes after we eat, we're already like planning, contemplating, and picturing what we're going to have for dinner because we still haven't satisfied our brain. And so these are not my words. I'll use my example first, and then I'll use what how she breaks it down. It's a registered dietitian. I use this example all of the time because the way she says it is just so eloquent,
Sure.
In terms of summarizing it. But it's a great way to honor your cravings and allow those foods at your table while also giving your body what it needs. So in my mac and cheese example, right? Like, so I have mac and cheese. There's my carbohydrate, right?
Yeah.
I typically will add some sort of protein.
Sure.
Right? Chicken is usually what I add. You can add whatever you'd like. Some sort of vegetable for fiber. Usually that's like sauteed zucchini. Sometimes it's broccoli, whatever. I usually will saute zucchini and just like mix it all into the mac and cheese. But if you're an on the side kind of gal, go for it. And then adding a healthy fat. And so while there's, butter and milk in mac and cheese, if you'd like to add more, like sometimes I'll just throw a sliced avocado on top. And so we've got carbohydrates, fiber, protein, and a healthy fat, right? And so now I've honored my craving while also, giving my body what it needs. And that boxed mac and cheese is not only going to satisfy that craving, but then get me a lot further in my day, and support me more than it would otherwise. And so this breakdown is, I think, a really helpful way for you to think through like that mac and cheese example, right? Which is great. But then also think through what might this look like in other areas of my life or, other meals. So she says, if you eat carbs, you'll feel energized, right? We know that. If you eat protein, you'll feel satisfied, right? That's where that satiation comes from, is protein. So if you eat protein and carbs, you're going to feel energized and satisfied. If you eat fiber, you're going to feel full. If you eat carbs, protein, and fiber, you'll feel energized, satisfied, and full. If you eat fats, you're going to have stable energy levels. It's going to help you sustain those energy levels, help you feel focused, right? Which is what we were talking about before. If you eat carbs, protein, fiber, and fats, you're going to have stable energy levels, feel full, feel satisfied, and feel energized. And if you eat what you're craving, you're going to feel happy. So if you eat carbs, protein, fats, and what you're craving, you're going to feel happy, have stable energy levels, feel full, satisfied, and energized. And that's the ultimate goal in fueling our bodies, is giving it what it needs so that it can feel all of those things so that you can do what you need to do throughout the day, but also allowing yourself to feel happy and satisfy that kind of brain cue as well, so that you can separate yourself from these ongoing food thoughts and free up that brain space to do 1,000 other things. And I think that's the most frustrating thing for so many individuals struggling to create that relationship, is coming off of feeling like they have a gazillion food thoughts now we're asking them to like hone in and focus on it. But once that skill is developed, it really opens a door to where like you don't really even think about or have these food thoughts living rent free in your brain 24/7 until, it's like, oh, my body's giving me a cue. Okay, what are we going to have?
Well, and I think that is great. And I would, if you struggle with this, I would highly recommend that you like replay that part and then just maybe write it down so you have it as a cue if you ever want it. Because I think two great things that came from that is that I thought of in my head is examples is like, let's say I'm hungry, right? Or I have a craving, whatever that is. And I like reach for like a piece of chocolate. And I'll use another example too, a piece of chocolate, which is sustained energy. And I'm happy, but then later I get frustrated because I'm hungry again, because I didn't have that, that full, that energized. So like that helps you kind of make a decision based on where you're at right there. And I can't tell you what you need in that moment. And I think that's very important. Something that Heidi and I do very well is like, it's just like if I reach for a snack and I was like, I'm going to get a bunch of vegetables and I'm just going to like eat it. Okay, well, I still don't have like, you're going to like feel full a little bit, but you're not going to have sustained energy. You're going to be hungry again a little bit later. You know what I mean? So like it can kind of guide you as far as like looking at like, hey, what did I eat? Look at this list and be like, oh, like it gives you an understanding of like, okay, when I do that, this is how I felt later. So maybe I should add this next time I have it so I can like, get what I like, be happy, but have sustained energy. But I also have, like I had all that, but I don't have any energy because there was no carbohydrate and there was just fiber. It was just this or that. Yeah. The other thing that I did want to point out just briefly as a last thing is because I am on social media, I do listen to a lot of stuff. This idea or concept that like, yes, if you ignore these hunger cues, but you're eating, like ultimately you're not going to waste away into anything. And I understand that. Like if we ate a good meal last night, skipping breakfast, and I'm just using this as an example, I'm not suggesting that anyone do it. Skipping breakfast is not going to like physiologically cause any harm or anything, but it does disassociate ourselves with kind of what our brain is telling us. And ultimately it relies on the act of discipline, which is going to at some point not work. So that's why if you hear those messages, I just wanted to bring it up. Like, I'm not a big fan of those. I think ultimately they don't build a good relationship, but there is some factual truth. And that's what we do a poor job of like taking the facts that like, yeah, if you skip a meal or do this, you're not going to die. Yeah, that's true. Like, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But ultimately, in lifelong education and building a good relationship, those type of things usually do more harm than good for us.
100%. I agree. I think. Well, let's go into the sauna and we can summarize.
Yep.
What's up, everyone? Welcome. Let's head to sauna and let's dive in.
Let's go. Okay. So, like the big takeaways that I want individuals to have are if you feel like your hunger cues are broken, you don't have an established relationship, you feel like you have to have something else call the shots for you, know that was learned and that can also be unlearned, right?
Sure, absolutely.
We can relearn how to tap into our particular hunger cues, and we can develop a new pattern. That's point A. Point B is hunger can look a bunch of different ways. And so, getting curious and asking yourself, what patterns do I typically recognize, prior to mealtime that can help me better understand what hunger might look like or feel like for me. And then coming off of that, knowing that there's a way to help you differentiate between cravings and hunger. But there's also a way where we can honor both simultaneously. And that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we really wanted to do is just like jump into this, give you some ideas, like as far as hunger cues, different ways to look at it, different ways to kind of piece it together to help you on your personal journey. This may be something you struggle with. It may be something like, I don't really worry about it. But I think it's come up enough with our clients and our conversations that it gives everyone a good reference point to just try to take the idea, the concept of hunger cues, turn it a little bit, look at it a little bit different way, and give you some more information so you can make the best decisions as far as what it looks like for you, how it's fitting in your life, and how you can kind of use it to achieve whatever goals you have with health and fitness and just life and creating that relationship in general.
Bingo. Love that. Well done. Are you ready for some trivia?
I am.
We have, in honor of talking about hunger, we have some food trivia.
Nice.
Food trivia. Okay. Some of these are easy, I think. Some of these, not so much. What condiment was originally used for its medicinal qualities in the 1800s?
Condiment?
Mm-hmm.
Medicinal? The only thing I could think of is like a relish.
No, not a relish. Ketchup.
Ketchup? How long? Oh, really? Interesting.
They give zero explanation for any of these answers.
Okay,
so-
I was going to say, I want some scientific backing. I was just thinking of like pickling and like, I don't know, but.
Yeah, let's see if we can. Let me pull this up. Tomato ketchup used to be sold as medicine, claiming to cure ailments like indigestion, jaundice, and diarrhea.
I mean, maybe vitamin C, but yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, we used to also sell snake oil as a, catch-all. So,
In 1834, he said to then later sell the recipe in form of tomato pills.
Ooh, okay. Well, I guess you're getting your vegetables in one way.
There you go. What is the most stolen grocery item?
Milk.
No.
Cheese.
Cheese.
Cheese. I knew it was one of those, which is also weird. I think we might have had that at some point because there's no way I should know that.
No, I was shook that you even were on the right track. That's crazy. Oh boy. This is a tongue twister for me. Arachibutyrophobia. Arachibutyrophobia is the fear of what food sticking to the roof of your mouth?
Peanut butter.
Yeah.
The only reason I would say that is sticking to the roof of your mouth.
What else sticks to the roof?
What else would? Yeah, exactly.
Arachibutyrophobia. Anyways, what are the three most prevalent fruit allergies?
Fruit allergies.
Yes.
I don't know, but I want to say kiwi.
That is one of them. Yes.
Nice. Shout out to friends and Ross having a kiwi allergy. I don't know. Other than kiwi, because I feel like if it was, because I feel like apples and oranges are so common that it can't be on there. Or maybe it can. Oranges, I don't know.
Apples is one.
That's bizarre. I've never met anyone with an apple allergy in my life.
Me either. I haven't either, actually.
The last one, I don't know. I'd say pineapple.
Peach. I would have guessed pineapple too. Yeah. But did you know that like the reason that your tongue gets itchy or tingles or irritated after eating too much pineapple is because there's actual little like pine like spikes in the fruit itself that like create little tiny cuts on your tongue and on your mouth when you eat pineapple?
Did not know that.
Yeah, well, you learned something new. Which country drinks the most coffee in pounds per year?
I want to say the United States, but I'm guessing that that's too obvious.
That is incorrect.
Brazil.
Finland.
I didn't even know.
Where does German chocolate cake come from?
I don't know. It has coconut, so it's gross, and I've never eaten it.
You're an anti-coconut guy?
Yep, no coconut for this guy.
So weird. I wonder why. Why is that so prevalent that like people feel so strongly about their either hatred or acceptance of coconut?
It's not like if it just doesn't taste good to me. I don't enjoy the taste. It's not.
I like coconut.
Yeah.
Like, is it just like shredded coconut that you don't like, or like would you also not enjoy like a pina colada?
I mean, I could do one, but like coconut water is like no,
well,
gross.
That's disgusting. Nobody actually likes coconut water.
But like, yeah, pina colada, I could even have one, but like, yeah, that's about it.
Interesting. Okay. So anyways, where does German chocolate cake come from?
Italy.
No. One would think Germany, but it is actually Dallas, Texas.
Dallas. All right.
Ooh, this is a good one. Fun fact for everybody. What is the difference between broth and stock?
It's broth made of like animal and stock is made of vegetable.
No, because you can have a beef stock.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
yeah,
that's how much I use it. So,
so broth is made with actual meat, and stock is made with the bones of the meat, and then typically vegetables and other things as well. Let's do 2 more. This is interesting. True or false? The seeds are the spiciest part of the pepper.
True.
I would say true too. It says false.
I don't believe that.
I don't either. The
only reason I say that is I usually when I want to go ahead.
The spiciest portion is the pith, not the seeds themselves.
What's the pith?
The seeds often have residual capsaicin on their surface due to contact with the pith.
Okay.
I think the pith is that like white,
sure,
like fibrous part inside.
Got it.
And then that's why the seeds can often be hot as well. But like when you scrape out the seeds of a pepper, you're typically also scraping out the pith.
Got it.
And that's the spicy part. Interesting. Dun dun dun. Last one, make it a good one. What is the difference between ice cream and gelato?
I have no idea, but I don't know if I've ever had gelato in my life.
Gelato has less fat and air than ice cream. Ice cream has more fat and more air incorporated.
Just give me the ice cream. I'm good with air and fat.
But like gelato is like creamier and like.
Oh, is it?
But I think because it's more dense and has less air.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Fun trivia.
Fun stuff.
Learned something new. I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening. Have a great week.